More than 2,000 years ago, a young king from a small kingdom in the north of Greece set out to conquer the world and came closer than anyone before or since. By the time he died at just 32, he had built an empire stretching from Greece to Egypt, from the deserts of Persia to the mountains of India. His name has echoed through the ages: Alexander the Great. Chapter 1: Birth of a Conqueror. Alexander III of Macedon was born in July 356 BC in Pella, the capital of the Kingdom of Macedon. His father, King Philip II, was a brilliant general who transformed Macedon into the dominant power of Greece. His mother, Olympias, a princess from Epirus, was deeply religious and fiercely ambitious for her son. Legends surrounded his birth. Plutarch records that on the night Alexander was conceived, Olympias dreamed of a thunderbolt striking her womb, and Philip dreamed of sealing it with a lion. The same night, the temple of Artemis at Ephesus burned down. Ancient writers claimed it was because the goddess was away, attending Alexander's birth. From childhood, Alexander was told he descended from Heracles on his father's side and Achilles on his mother's. At age 12, he tamed a wild horse named Bucephalus, noticing it feared its shadow. His father reportedly told him,
"My boy, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambitions. Macedon is too small for you."
At 13, Alexander's education passed to the greatest philosopher of the age, Aristotle. For 3 years in the sanctuary of Mieza, Aristotle taught him philosophy, science, medicine, and literature. Alexander carried an annotated copy of Homer's Iliad with him for the rest of his life, modeling himself on its hero Achilles. Chapter 2: First Blood. At 16, Alexander acted as regent while Philip campaigned elsewhere, defeating a Thracian revolt and founding the city of Alexandropolis. At 18, he commanded the companion cavalry at the Battle of Chaeronea, 338 BC, smashing the elite Theban sacred band and helping secure Macedonian dominance over Greece. But the royal family was unstable. In 336 BC, at a wedding feast in Aegae, Philip II was assassinated. Alexander, just 20 years old, moved quickly to secure the throne. He eliminated rival claimants and crushed a rebellion in Thebes, destroying the city and selling its survivors into slavery. A brutal warning to the rest of Greece. Chapter 3: Crossing into Asia. In the spring of 334 BC, Alexander led an army of about 40,000 men across the Hellespont into Asia Minor, beginning the war against the Persian Empire ruled by Darius III. Symbolically, he threw a spear into the soil, claiming Asia as a gift from the gods. The first major clash was the Battle of the Granicus, 334 BC, where Alexander personally led a cavalry charge across the river, defeating Persian satraps and Greek mercenaries. Asia Minor was now open to him. In 333 BC, near the town of Issus, Alexander faced Darius III himself. Outnumbered but positioned in narrow terrain, Alexander led a wedge formation straight at the Persian center. Darius fled, leaving behind his family, whom Alexander treated with honor. This Battle of Issus cemented his reputation as invincible. Chapter 4: Master of the Mediterranean. To cut Persian naval power, Alexander moved down the coast. At the Siege of Tyre, 332 BC, he built a causeway to the island city, one of the greatest engineering feats of antiquity. After 7 months, Tyre fell. Its population was massacred or enslaved. From there, Alexander marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator from Persian rule. In early 331 BC, he founded Alexandria, which would become one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. He then made a dangerous journey to the Siwa oasis to consult the oracle of Ammon. The oracle greeted him as the son of Ammon Zeus, reinforcing his belief in his divine mission. Chapter 5: King of Asia. In October 331 BC at Gaugamela, Alexander faced Darius in the decisive battle of the war. Though Darius had a much larger army with war chariots and elephants, Alexander's disciplined tactics broke the Persian line. Once again, Darius fled and was later murdered by his own satrap, Bessus. Alexander now controlled Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, the ceremonial heart of Persia. He allowed his troops to plunder Persepolis, and the palace was set ablaze, possibly in revenge for the Persian burning of Athens in 480 BC. Chapter 6: To the Ends of the Earth. Alexander pursued Bessus into Bactria and Sogdiana, modern Afghanistan and Central Asia. Here he faced guerrilla resistance, scaling the so-called Sogdian Rock to force a surrender. He married Roxana, a Bactrian noblewoman, to secure loyalty in the region. In 327 BC, he invaded the Indian subcontinent. At the Battle of the Hydaspes, 326 BC, he faced King Porus, whose army included war elephants. Alexander crossed the river under cover of a storm, outflanked Porus, and won a hard-fought victory. Impressed by Porus's bravery, Alexander reinstated him as ruler under Macedonian authority. But at the Hyphasis River, his army refused to march further east. After 8 years of continuous campaigning, they longed to return home. Alexander reluctantly turned back. Chapter 7: Last Plans and Sudden Death. Alexander's return was grueling. He led part of his army through the Gedrosian desert, losing thousands to heat and thirst. In 324 BC in Susa, he staged the mass weddings of Macedonian officers to Persian noblewomen, symbolizing his vision of a unified empire. He planned new campaigns into Arabia, but in June 323 BC, after a banquet in Babylon, he fell ill with a high fever. Within days, he was unable to speak. On June 10th or 11th, Alexander died, aged just 32. The cause remains uncertain. Theories include typhoid fever, malaria, or even poisoning. Ancient sources claimed his body showed no decay for days, fueling rumors of divine status. Chapter 8: Legacy of the Great. With no clear heir, his generals and the Diadochi divided his empire, founding the Hellenistic kingdoms, the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, the Seleucid Empire in Asia, and the Antigonid dynasty in Macedonia. Alexander's conquests spread Greek language, art, and science across the known world, an era we now call the Hellenistic Age. His cities, like Alexandria in Egypt, became centers of learning for centuries. From Julius Caesar to Napoleon, leaders have studied his campaigns. Legends transformed him into a hero in Greek, Roman, Persian, and even Islamic traditions. Alexander once said,
"I would rather live a short life of glory than a long one of obscurity."
He achieved that, and more. His empire did not survive him, but his name, his legend, and his influence have endured for over 2 millennia. He remains the ultimate conqueror, the young king who sought to rule the world and almost did. But Alexander's death was not the end of the story. In fact, it was only the beginning of another, a tale of betrayal, ambition, and endless war. His generals, once united under his banner, would soon turn against each other, carving up his empire and fighting for their share of the dream. They became known as the Diadochi, the successors, and their struggle would shape the world Alexander left behind.